There's this one passage in the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel, that is just completely wild. For centuries, it's been a total head-scratcher for readers. But in our modern age, it's taken on a whole new life as something, well, something truly out of this world. So here's the big question that has fueled, countless TV shows, books, and probably way too many late-night internet rabbit holes. Did an ancient prophet actually describe a UFO? And honestly, when you read the description, you can kind of see why people go there. The language sounds like it was ripped straight out of a modern sci-fi movie. Think about what Ezekiel says he saw. A massive cloud with fire flashing out of it, something that looked like gleaming polished metal, these 4 living creatures, each with 4 different faces and wings, and of course the most famous part, these bizarre wheels within wheels that were covered in eyes. It's so weird that, for a lot of us today, the idea of a UFO almost sounds like the most logical explanation. Okay, so this naturally leads us to the most popular take you'll find on this today. It's an idea that has become a real cornerstone for a very specific theory about our ancient past. For folks who are really into the ancient astronaut theory, Ezekiel's vision isn't just a vision. It's an eyewitness account. It's often presented as like Exhibit A for the case that aliens visited us in the ancient world. But the question is that what Ezekiel was actually trying to describe? Well, to really figure this out, we've got to do something that's, it's absolutely crucial. We have to take off our 21st century glasses for a minute and try to see the world through their eyes. We need to unlock the ancient code. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Look at this comparison. Where our brains immediately jump to science fiction, an ancient Israelite would have seen a divine throne. Where we think of technology, their mind would have gone straight to temple imagery. And where we might imagine aliens, they would have instantly recognized what they'd call heavenly beings. We're working with 2 completely different operating systems. So, let's really try to put ourselves in their shoes for a second. What would this vision have meant to Ezekiel and the people he was with? We're talking about Jewish exiles living in Babylon around 593 BC. These people had never seen a movie, never read a sci-fi novel, never even heard of a flying saucer. So, what was their frame of reference? Now, luckily for us, we're not totally in the dark. We actually have a couple of master keys that can help us decode all this imagery. The first is the art and the symbols that were common all around them in the ancient world, especially in Babylon. And the second key is something even closer to home for them, the super detailed descriptions of their own holy temple back in Jerusalem. So let's start with that second key, with the temple. Because once you see the parallels between Ezekiel's vision and the design of Solomon's temple, oh man, they're just mind-blowing. All right, first up, those weird living creatures. Ezekiel himself actually tells us what they are in a later chapter. He calls them cherubim. And back then, everyone knew what cherubim were. They were these powerful hybrid beings, part human, part animal, that guarded the thrones of kings and gods. This wasn't some unknown alien. This was a divine bodyguard. And this right here just lays out the connection so brilliantly. The most sacred room in the temple, the Holy of Holies, had 4 huge cherubim statues. The temple walls were covered in carvings of lions and oxen, 2 of the faces Ezekiel saw. And here's the real kicker. The 10 giant bronze stands in the temple courtyard, they each had 4 bronze wheels and axles, built just like chariot wheels. All the puzzle pieces were right there in the temple blueprints. But then you get to this one verse, and boom, it just changes everything. The Bible itself, right here in the book of Chronicles, calls the cherubim structure in the temple a chariot, a golden chariot. It's not a modern theory someone came up with. The Bible's own description calls it a chariot. So that word, that Hebrew word, is merkabah. It literally means chariot. But over time, it came to mean something so much deeper. It became the term for God's heavenly throne chariot, a powerful symbol of his presence, that he's mobile, that he's everywhere. It's not a vehicle, it's a throne. Okay, so if we're not talking about a spaceship, then what are we talking about? Why this crazy, spectacular vision? Why a throne with wheels? This is where we get to the real heart of the message, the reason Ezekiel's audience needed to see this. See, the vision wasn't about a machine, not at all. It was a massive theological statement. It was a picture of a mobile, heavenly version of the temple's throne room, and it was meant to show that God's power and his presence weren't stuck in one building, in one city. Nope. He is the king, the sovereign ruler, absolutely everywhere. And this idea of sovereignty, it goes even deeper. Get this. The 4 faces on the creatures, they actually line up with the 4 cardinal points of the Babylonian zodiac, the constellations that marked the seasons and mapped the heavens. The message was unmistakable. God is sovereign over all of creation, every corner of the sky, every corner of the earth, and all of time itself. And you have to understand, this wasn't just some cool, abstract idea. For the people hearing this message for the first time, this was a matter of spiritual life and death. I mean, just think about who Ezekiel was talking to. These were exiles. Their home was gone, their nation had been crushed, their holy city was about to be destroyed, and their temple, the one place on earth where they believed God lived, was gone. The vision was a direct, powerful answer to their deepest, darkest fear. Has God left us? And the answer was a thundering no. As the scholar Michael Heiser puts it, the message was that Yahweh is still on the throne. His real throne room is the entire cosmos. His power doesn't depend on a building that human beings can tear down. And this wasn't just, some abstract comfort food. Another prophet, Jeremiah, had already told them their exile had an expiration date. He had prophesied it would last for 70 years. So God wasn't just there with them. He was in complete control of history, with a plan to bring them home. So when those exiles looked up and imagined this incredible vision, they weren't seeing some alien ship from another world. They were seeing something far more powerful, far more profound. It was a promise that even in their darkest hour, their God was still king of the universe, that he was right there with them in Babylon, and that their pain, it was not going to be the end of their story. Ezekiel's vision is just such a powerful lesson in how important context is. What looks to us like a bizarre UFO was, to its original audience, a deeply meaningful message of hope. Which kind of makes you wonder, right? If just seeing through ancient eyes can transform a UFO into a divine throne, what other modern myths might start to look a little different if we just took the time to look at the original blueprint?